Why you should not retire early, even if you can, according to an article in Market Watch that we're going to dissect here today. So welcome to Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, my friends, the place where you come to learn, should you stay at your crappy old job? Because Market Watch and Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey, I don't know what Dave Ramsey says on this, but other people are telling you not to retire. Should you do it? Let's dive into it. So don't forget to subscribe down below. And as always, put comments on there as well. And then because we do a ton of stuff here at Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel, click the bell to be subscribed, to be notified for future content. All right. So this is from a young lady. It looks like, where was she here? This lady right here. Alessandra Melito is a personal finance reporter based in New York. All right, so I don't know. I've never heard of Alessandra Melito. Probably fine lady. Don't know anything about her, but she wrote this. It's a good article to chomp on a little bit. But here's why you shouldn't retire super early, even if you can. The FIRE concept is lit. It's lit. I have to go to my kids' ask what that means anymore. I'm not that far removed from the vernacular of the cool kids on the block, that's for sure, the hipsters. So it's hot to trot, hot Somalis. What we used to say is smoking. All right, so anyway, the FIRE concept. And I'm new to this, man. 48 years old. I guess I'm a grungy old man. Don't run on my lawn. I guess I'm at that stage in my life now. But anyway, so the whole point, I had some folks on my own YouTube channel tell me about FIRE, financial independence, retire early. And then I dived into it a little bit more. I saw an article, podcast, a lady named Paula Pant did with Susie Orman, which Susie Orman was so against it. I had to be for it just because her arguments were just horrible. And look, I try to be as open-minded as I can. You don't want to be so open-minded your brain falls out. I mean, you got to have some kind of structure in your philosophy. But I try to be open-minded to stuff. And I was willing to hear Susie Orman's argument against why people should stay at their crappy old job, and it just. She had none. Her argument was just insanely poor. Now, that's just one person. That is obviously a media hound. So if she can get her 2 pounds of flesh by scaring people to death and to buy her stuff, that's fine. But I'm sure there are other people with better arguments, but her argument was just atrocious. So with that said, I've leaned more in towards the favor of the FIRE camp, simply because my own actual experience, but then also the arguments that I've heard so far were pretty bad. All right, well, here's one that says maybe it's not always worth it. There's Alessandra. Sam Dogen, let me make this a little bit bigger. Sam Dogen, a San Francisco-based blogger at the Financial Samurai, retired in 2012. Despite many of the perks of early retirement, can I get over there? Doesn't look like I can. Can I do that? I guess not. All right, so you just have to, actually, let me move my mug out of the way here. There we go. All right, cool. Well, that's not really doing it. All right. Can't get myself over it anymore. All right. There we go. I guess I'll just leave myself over there. That's my fault. All right. So despite many of the perks of early retirement, waking up whenever you want, for example, it wasn't the easiest decision. Dogen said he suffered from an identity crisis after giving up his title as executive director of an investment firm. He also doubted himself for the first 3 years of early retirement. He stopped telling people that he retired early because he worried they wouldn't understand. He was disappointed that he didn't feel happier with the supposedly carefree life. I'm an extrovert who enjoys constant human interaction, he says. So much of my social network revolves around my job because I consistently work 12 hours a day. Regardless of the FIRE movement, I actually get that from men a lot, and men in particular, because a lot of men who are retired, regardless if they retire at 38 or they retire at 68, their work is their life, essentially. I mean, that's just a fact. And I get that. In fact, can I just click that off? Let's see. Sweet. So I get that. I've seen that happen a million times a Sunday. I'll get a guy who scored enough way to retire at 60 or so, and he thinks he's going to go play golf, and he goes play golf, and he just gets bored. And what happens is his happiness to play golf slowly subsides, and then he starts getting bitter. And then they start looking at the markets. They start falling to politics, and they start getting bitter and more bitter. And they've done studies now. I did a couple of websites or YouTube videos on this, where they're showing that the elderly retirees, they're watching a whole heck of a lot more TV than they used to, which is frightening because the TV, the news media in particular, and that's the right and the left for sure, they're not going to sit there and say everything's fine. And if you remember the old Simpsons episode, they saw people protesting in front of the White House. Everything's fine. We're good. That doesn't happen. I mean, again, journalism 101. If it bleeds, it leads. If it bleeds, it leads. Man bite dog, not dog bites man. because it's unique and unusual. That's what they're going to focus on, scare tactics. And I see that happen all the time, regardless of what stage of your life you're in, and particularly for men. Men get caught up in their life's work, and when that life's work stops for whatever reason, you have a hard time replacing it. So just keep that in the back of your mind for sure. Dogen didn't give in to the doubt, though, and he feels as perseverance has paid off. Not a day goes by that he and his wife are not thankful for retiring early. There's always another dollar to be made, but not another second to create. Once you have enough money to live comfortably, having more money won't necessarily bring any more happiness. Even knowing how good early retirement can feel in the end, others feel jitters while taking the leap. Jay, who's becoming a stay-at-home dad later this year after deciding to retire early at 41, is one of them. He has been saving and has a wife who will keep her full-time job as a professor, but he's still a little unsure about the big lifestyle change. There's something I see a common trend tendency here in terms of the folks who are doing this. And that kind of does concern me a little bit. And I'll share that in a second. He didn't want his full name to appear in the article, but he is fearful retiring early. He's worried about the loss of income, even if his family would be supported by passive income, his wife's salary, passive income. We're going to talk about that later on down the thing here by Gary Vaynerchuk, which I thought was absolutely fundamentally profound. And I'm a big fan of Gary V. He cusses too much. I think he almost does that to be a hipster. I don't know, but he doesn't need to drop F-bombs every other sentence. It grains on me. Trust. I was in the infantry, man. I know how to cuss like the best of them. But every time I hear people just cussing like a drunken sailor or a drunken infantryman, I say, oh man, it takes some of the, it grains on me. So whatever. But yeah, if you want to follow Gary V, by all means, just remember his F-bombs all over the place. He's also suffering from fear of the unknown and a potential loss of identity. There we go again, loss of identity. What if there's he talks about market decline. All right. The FIRE movement is burning up on the internet. Hundreds, if not thousands, of anonymous bloggers share their goals of leaving their 9-to-5 jobs and write about how they plan to do so. Some choose to give up their careers entirely, while others decide to freelance in the industry they work in or try an entirely new part-time job. Given the number of readers some of these bloggers have, Dogen's site says he has about 1 million page views a month. It's clear there's a lot of interest in this concept. Reddit has an entire section devoted to financial independence where users discuss in various threads how to accomplish early retirement. Not all members of the FIRE community agree, though, and how much you actually need to retire or how much savings that much, but they tend to agree the concept is very much worth the extra effort and work. Is it, though? MarketWatch spoke with financial advisors about the financial and emotional consequences of early retirement. I grin because the financial advisor absolutely has an incentive for you not to retire early, to keep making the money for the accumulation of assets in which they can charge you a fee, as opposed to the decumulation of assets which they're losing fees. My wife just texted me. Okay, good deal. I just want to make sure she's okay. No more active income. Early retirees give up potentially high earnings, especially considering wages rise well into middle age for many Americans. Earnings tend to peak around 48 for men and 39 for women. Physical laborers see peak earnings at an earlier age, whereas executives may not peak until their 50s or 60s. And I absolutely agree with that. My peak earnings were the year I left my job. That's just a fact, which is frightening. Not going to lie to you, because you're like, I was making pretty good money. I never made that kind of money before. What happens if? And that's the risk. No other way around that. Here's one way to figure out if early retirement is a sound financial decision. If savings and investments can, and this is what cracks me up, if savings and investments can produce equivalent after-tax earnings to your current income, there's a chance those earnings will grow similarly to a salary or bonus that may work, says one of these financial advisors. But early retirees also have to consider other components of compensation, including insurance coverage, employer matches, and retirement benefits, and, of course, reducing Social Security. If you believe Social Security will be a part of your retirement income, then reducing your working years can have a significant impact on your financial benefit. This is another financial advisor. I talked about in many, many episodes on financial, what happens if you retire early with your Social Security. And I'll do another one on that as well, because I think you can't do that enough. I'm getting new people coming in all the time, and I do so many videos, it's hard to watch any given one to make sure that everyone has seen it. So I'll do another one on that. Just remember, at the end of the day, your Social Security benefit is based on your top 35 years of earnings. That's a fact, top 35 years. So if you retire, i.e. no longer work anymore for an income that you're in the Social Security system, if it's under the table, you're not in the Social Security system. So if you're working for cash, you're not in the Social Security system. Should you be? Yes, you're supposed to be, but okay. Anyway, so if you have 30 years of earnings, that means you're going to have 5 zeros. All right, so you take your top 35 years of earnings. If 30 of those have a number behind it and 5 do not, that means you're taking 30 years and you're going to divide that by 35 times 12, which is 420 months. And I'll dive into this deeper in another episode. But essentially, you have 60 months with no income whatsoever, which means those top 35 years of earnings, you have goose eggs for 5 of them, which could reduce your benefit. I wouldn't say quite a bit or significantly, but certainly could reduce it. In fact, certainly will. Now, if you add another year layer of earnings, you're going to reduce one of those years, one of those goose eggs, which will add to your benefit. And again, we'll show you that in a different video, or you can just go back right now and watch, because I got other videos on that. So that there is some legitimacy to what this lady's saying, but not necessarily enough for you to say, I better keep working because I increase or at least keep my Social Security earnings. You just got to know your own number situation. And just remember, 35 is the magic number. 35 is the magic number. Remember that. Remember, 3 is the magic number. That's an old, some old from when I was 8 years old or something like that. I used to play that on PBS, I think. Anyway, so just keep that in the back of your mind. If you have 35 years of max earnings, then working the next couple of years isn't going to help you. Just not. If you have 20 years of good earnings and you have 15 years of goose eggs, working a couple extra years will help you for sure. And again, I'm not sure retirement and not working are one and the same. I mean, I think I have to pay income from the money I get from YouTube. I have to pay income taxes from the money I get from clients. So I've retired from my previous job by doing a different gig. Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Some say the idea of sustainable income, sustainable passive income enough to last through retirement is a pipe dream. That's what Gary Vee says. Passive income doesn't exist, and anything that starts with I don't want to work is already a problem, Vaynerchuk says. The best way to make money is to make less money, just enough to live on, and focus on something you're passionate about. Save all those dollars, build something for yourself over 7 years, and transition from your crappy old job to your own business. That's passive. And this guy, I'm not a big fan of Josh Brown. I've heard him a couple times now, and I kind of was, but again, another guy's dropping too many F-bombs, trying a little bit too hard, but I actually think he's a breath of fresh air for the staid financial advisor. At least he has an opinion, for heaven's sake. I don't agree with it all the time. And certainly the languaging drives me up the wall. But at the end of the day, at least he's got an opinion, man. Too many people say, well, if the markets go like this, that could happen. If the markets go like that, that could happen. Yeah, no crap. No, everyone knows that. If the Broncos could run the ball against the Packers in the Super Bowl, they'll win the Super Bowl. Tell me something I don't know. If the Packers stop the run against the Broncos, they'll win some of the Super Bowl. That's not profound. That's a big bunch of friggin' ifs. If this happens, that could result. No, tell me something profound, because that ain't it. At least Josh Brown has an opinion, which I like. Anyway, what was it saying? So he says you need to accumulate assets in order to generate large amounts of passive income. And in this case, he's talking about passive income being, I got $1 million in dividend stocks. My dividends are 4%. That's $40,000 a year I'm getting off my dividend stocks. That's passive income. You need to work like a dog over many years and not spend it in order to accumulate those assets. And there's no in between unless you win the lottery. I actually want to, again, I'm not a biggest fan of Josh Brown, but I like the fact he's got an opinion, and some of his opinions annoy me. But hey, I'd take an annoying opinion over a non-opinion any day of the week. Untether yourself. This is the critical one. Untether yourself from consumer culture. To save enough, early retirement hopefuls will have to work extra hard and change the lifestyles, which may cut back on eating out, movies, and vacations. I agree with that 100%. Aggressively saving is never a bad thing. Even if people don't want to retire early, should try to save 20% of their gross income if at all possible. 10-10-80, my friends. 10% to the church, 10% to your savings, and 80% to live on. That's the easiest rule that you can ever imagine. I don't follow it. I wish I did, but 10-10-80. If you could follow that, you're going to be in hog heaven without question. Here's Vicki Robin, a personal financial guru. The key to achieving financial independence is to clear the mind of the thrall of the consumer culture. Okay. But here's, right here. Limited, all right, right here. This is the good one, I thought. Social Security, Medicare, and other federal benefits have age restrictions. Many individual retirement accounts and 401ks aren't available until penalty until after the age of 59 and a half, says this guy. The early withdrawal penalties are severe enough to make it unlikely these income sources will stay in early retirement through age 62 when you could take Social Security. I think that's actually a pretty good comment, actually, and I get this a lot. Like, I'm afraid of the 10% penalty. I'm just telling you right now, if you're living on $20,000 a year and you're pulling that from your IRA, you're not having any income tax, none. 10% penalty is $2,000. But if you have $20,000 a year that you're living on, And to include the 10% penalty, you have no income tax. If you're married, filed jointly, there's none. To include the 10% penalty, it's just not there. Now, if you make $100,000 a year, you're used to living on that. Now you're pulling $50,000 a year. Well, you're going to have $50,000 minus your standard deduction. So your taxable income in that case will be roughly $24,000, $25,000, which will mean you owe taxes plus a $5,000 penalty on the $50,000 you pulled out. So you got to factor in, if it's $5,000 as a 10% penalty, and I don't want to pay the penalty, so I'm going to work an extra year, which is 2,080 hours. So we take $5,000 divided by 2,080 hours. Is it worth it to avoid that $5,000 penalty? Because you're only going to be making $2.40 an hour. Again, $5,000 is a penalty you take on a $50,000 distribution. To work full time in order to avoid that penalty at your crappy old job is 2,080 hours. Thus, you divide 5,000 by those 2,080 hours you work. That means you're going to pay it's going to pay you $2.40 for your time over the course of next year in which to avoid that $5,000 penalty. That's just a fact. Now, a lot of people argue, yeah, but you're adding more to your 401k. I get that, but the issue isn't I'm going to add more to my 401k. It's that I don't want to pay the 10% penalty. So thus, we can assume if someone's not wanting to retire early because he doesn't want to pay the 10% penalty, it's the 10% penalty that's keeping him from retiring early. You remove the issue of that 10% penalty, would that guy retire early? And if the answer is yes, the only thing holding him back then is a 10% penalty, which I just showed you is the equivalent of $2.40 an hour in which to work that full year to avoid that 10% penalty. That simply means you could go get a job delivering pizzas for one weekend a month, essentially, and you'll get that $5,000 back at a whole lot less than a full year of commitment to work at $2.40 an hour. And that's just work time, never mind the commute. This is the big one right here. He was afraid of a market downturn, but people tend to People tend to dangerously underestimate their healthcare costs. Many people have trouble paying for the health insurance. As a result, people may delay healthcare because it's too expensive. They might skip financial exams, and this right here drives up the wall. The estimated cost of healthcare through retirement is $208,000. And that figure is expected to rise, and that's from Fidelity every year. They screech that at us. You're going to have huge healthcare costs. You better not retire. Okay, you're also going to have big food costs, big cell phone costs. You're going to have big housing costs, big costs across the board. We never say that about these other stuff. Why do we always say that about healthcare? It boggles the mind. Because it's there. It's not going away. Neither is your demand for food, water, home, phone, you name it. Entertainment is all going to be there. The issue when it comes to health insurance, and they talked about this down here about health insurance again a little bit more, is that is a tough one. That is a tough one. I mean, we talk about health insurance, but is health insurance the only thing that's keeping you on? Many, many people don't have health insurance. Is that a risk? Yes, absolutely is a risk. Is anything you do a risk? Without question. Am I saying quit your job and go take the risk of health insurance? No. But I am saying there are risks that you can take if it means a better life. And maybe not having health insurance is one of them. I just don't know. But my goodness, there are risks to everything you do. The idea that you can't retire early and to stay in some crappy old job where you're being beaten down and your body is decaying in front of your eyes because of lack of health insurance. I mean, you can have all the best health insurance you want, but you're going to die. Look at, like I just talked about yesterday, Paul Allen. Paul Allen died at 65 with the best health insurance money could buy. I'm not saying quit. I am saying, is it worth it to stay in this job that's beating you to death so you can turn around and die like Paul Allen the minute you be able to subscribe to Medicare? I don't know. So I just thought I'd share this with you. It's a pretty good article. It was okay. A couple of things I consider is that, be careful what you're doing. Make sure you have a plan. Obviously, plan. But think about it. There's nothing wrong with retiring. Retiring does not necessarily mean not making money, by the way. Do you know that? You can retire and still make money. It's crazy to think, right? If it's okay, go get a job part-time at Target. I mean, whatever. Go get a job part-time driving a school bus. I don't know, but just because you retired from your crappy old job or you got to commute an hour and a half each way doesn't mean you can't bring in income. Do a YouTube channel, for heaven's sake. But don't stay at some crappy old job because of 10% penalty or you're worried about health insurance. Find a way to make that happen. Immigrants have come to our country for 200 years without health insurance, have done just fine. They've done just fine because they had the go-get-em attitude, which is why immigration is such a plus for the United States. When people come here and they leave their world behind, is a plus because they say, this is my one chance. I'm taking it. And they kick butt and take names. Why can't you do the same? Anyway, hope you like this. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, questions, concerns. Thumbs up always help. And, of course, you can go to the blog at heritagewealthplanning.com. Thanks now.